Communism. Communism is a form of government most closely associated with the ideas of Karl Marx, which he outlined in the Communist Manifesto. Communism is based on the goal of eliminating socio-economic class struggles by creating a classless society in which everyone shares the benefits of labor and the state controls all property and wealth. For instance, you have two cows. The state takes both and gives you some milk. Socialism is a political and economic system wherein property and resources are owned in common or by the state. Example, you have two cows. You give one to your neighbor. Fascism, characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, extreme nationalism, militarism, forcible suppression of opposition, belief in a natural social hierarchy, and the supremacy of the nation over the individual. Case, you have two cows. The state takes both and sells you some milk. Bureaucratism refers to a complex organization that has multi-layered systems and processes. The systems and processes that are put in place effectively make decision-making slow. They are designed to maintain uniformity and control within the organization. For instance, you have two cows, the state takes both, shoots one, milks the other, and then throws the milk away. Capitalism is an economic system in which private individuals or businesses own capital goods. At the same time, business owners, or capitalists, employ workers, or labor, who receive only wages. Labor doesn't own the means of production, but instead uses them on behalf of the owners of capital. You have two cows. You sell one and buy a bull. Your herd multiplies, and the economy grows. You sell them and retire on the income. Anarchism. You and your neighbors form a voluntary without hierarchical authority, self-governing community where decisions are made through consensus. Each individual contributes to the well-being of the community based on their abilities, and the distribution of resources is determined collectively. There is no centralized authority, and people organize themselves through mutual aid and direct cooperation. Authoritarianism. A style of government in which the rulers demand unquestioning obedience from the ruled. Decisions are typically made by a central authority without much input from the broader population, and dissent or opposition is often suppressed. You have two cows. The state seizes both cows and tightly controls their production. The government dictates how much milk you receive and closely monitors your compliance. Any dissent or resistance to state directives is met with severe consequences. The centralized authority exercises significant power over economic, political, and social aspects of your life, limiting individual freedoms in the name of maintaining order and control. Populism, intended to get the support of ordinary people by giving them what they want. Their ideas are simple populism, tax cuts and higher wages for people. You have two cows. A charismatic leader emerges, claiming to champion the interests of the common people. The leader seizes both cows, promising to redistribute the milk among the masses and address perceived grievances. However, the actual distribution tends to favor certain groups or individuals aligned with the populist leader. Colonialism. It occurs when a foreign power directly controls and governs a territory or people outside its borders, establishing colonies. This involves not just political and economic control, but often the settlement of its citizens in the new territory. By 1914, a large majority of the world's nations had been colonized by Europeans at some point. You have two cows. A foreign power arrives, claims ownership of the land, and takes both cows, exploiting the resources for its own benefit. Democracy. The belief in freedom and equality between people, or a system of government based on this belief, in which power is either held by elected representatives or directly by the people themselves. You have two cows. You and your fellow citizens participate in a democratic process where you collectively decide how to manage the cows and distribute the milk. Liberalism. The political belief that there should be free trade, that people should be allowed more personal freedom, and that changes in society should be made gradually. You have two cows. You are allowed to keep and manage your cows independently, and the state intervenes minimally in your economic activities. You can choose how to utilize your cows, trade their products, and accumulate wealth. Monarchism, the system of having a king or queen. A single individual, known as the monarch, holds supreme authority and serves as the head of state for life or until abdication. In a monarchy, the position of the monarch is typically hereditary, passed down through a royal family lineage. You have two cows. The monarch, as the absolute ruler, claims ownership of both cows, considering them to be part of the royal property. The state, under the control of the monarch, oversees the management of the cows and the distribution of their products. Communitarianism. It is a philosophy that prioritizes community and shared values in shaping individual identity and well-being. It asserts that social relationships heavily influence a person's development, with less emphasis on individualism. You have two cows. The community collectively decides how to manage the cows and distribute the milk. There is an emphasis on shared values, mutual responsibilities, and cooperation. Marxism. It is a broad social, political, and economic theory that is based on the ideas of Karl Marx and his friend Friedrich Engels in the second half of the 19th century. Shortly, he wanted a society where the methods of production would be owned and controlled by all its members. You have two cows. In a Marxist context, the means of production, including your cows, are owned collectively by the working class, the proletariat. Conservatism. It is a philosophy that aims to uphold traditional institutions, customs, and values. It advocates for gradual reforms over abrupt changes, emphasizing continuity with the past, social stability, and the preservation of established structures. You have two cows. In a conservative approach, there is a preference for maintaining traditional structures and values. You are allowed to keep and manage your cows independently, with limited interference from the state. Corporatism. It is a political system of interest representation and policymaking whereby corporate groups such as agricultural, labor, military, business, scientific, or guild associations come together on and negotiate contracts or policy on the basis of their common interests. Environmentalism. It is a movement aiming to enhance and safeguard the natural environment by altering harmful human activities, adopting sustainable political, economic, and social systems, and reevaluating humanity's relationship with nature. You have two cows. In an environmentalist perspective, there is a focus on sustainable and eco-friendly practices. The state, or a community-based environmental organization, works to ensure that the management of the cows aligns with ecological principles. Identity politics. It is politics based on a particular identity, such as racial, ethnic, cultural, religious, gender, or other group, usually undertaken with the goal of rectifying injustices suffered by group members because of differences or conflicts between their particular identity or misconceptions of their particular identity. Libertarianism. It is a political philosophy that upholds liberty as a core value. It's a belief that people should be free to think and behave as they want and should not have limits put on them by government. You are free to own, manage, and trade your cows without interference from the state. The state's role is minimal, focusing primarily on protecting individual rights and maintaining a framework for voluntary exchanges. Nationalism. It is an idea and movement that holds that the nation should be congruent with the state, or simply desire for political independence in a country that is controlled by or part of another country. You have two cows. The state takes both cows to ensure national self-sufficiency and prosperity. The milk is distributed with the goal of supporting the nation's economic strength and cultural identity.